What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Pass or Play. I'm Kevin, aka the Muffin Mon, and today we're taking a look at Alan Wake Remastered. Obviously, the Xbox 360 cult classic Alan Wake from way back when got a remaster last year now, since it's 2022. Happy New Year, everyone. But does it hold up even with the updated resolution, fidelity? Is Alan Wake something worth revisiting, especially with the announcement of Alan Wake 2 coming in 2023? As someone that just played all of Alan Wake Remastered and all of its DLC content, which is included, I can say firmly that Alan Wake 2 has shot up to one of my most anticipated games of this generation. Now, is Alan Wake a perfect game? Absolutely not. I think Alan Wake suffers from a lot of issues, primarily because it is such an old game. Alan Wake, the original game, obviously is constrained by the Xbox 360. You couldn't do a lot of things. And just because this isn't a remake, it is a remaster, a lot of those issues are still prevalent in this one. Does it control the best? No, it does feel a little janky at times, especially the jumping mechanic. It feels pretty bad to try to jump, to try to climb. That is not smooth at all. In terms of shooting, it can get a little frustrating. You know, you're supposed to use the light and the guns at the same time. I had some issues with the gameplay, but I think mostly that it's a solid title that you can revisit even today and have a good time. So, let's start off the review. Alan Wake Remastered. You start chapter 1 with the classic. My name's Alan Wake. I'm a writer. So this is going to be sort of like a narrative game. So honestly, if you're not into narrative, this is probably not a game you're going to want to play because especially early on, this game is heavy on the cutscenes. You can't walk more than like 3 feet in the first two chapters without getting some sort of cutscene. They load it, a lot of exposition. There is a lot of dialogue in this game, a lot of talking. Alan basically narrates the entire game. Every time he's walking, he has his inner monologue going. And at first, I'm like, man, I wish Alan would shut up. He is droning on and on. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I did not like Alan Wake, the character, not the game. I did not like Alan Wake as a character until probably halfway through this game. I found him mean to most people. I'm going to say it like he was a dick. He was a jerk. He was not a nice dude. You're like, why am I playing this character who honestly isn't very appealing? I don't want to really play as him. So that kind of like hinders your enjoyment of getting into it. But if you can get past the first two chapters, because I do think the first two chapters are a little slow, they drag on a little bit with too much narrative cutscenes going on. And the gameplay is a little more difficult in the first two chapters compared to the rest of the game. I played on normal because you only have easy and normal unlocked, and then you have to beat those to unlock nightmare mode. But I played on normal, and you start out the first two chapters, you barely have any offensive options. You have your flashlight, the dingy one, and you have your pistol. And as the game goes on, you get more offensive options. You get a flare gun, which is basically a one-hit kill for the Taken. You get flares to keep them off you. You get a flashbang, which instantly pulverizes everything in a certain radius. You just get so many more offensive options as the game goes on. It really opens up the gameplay, lets you explore and challenge the Taken in a different way that makes the game more fun to play, in my opinion. I found myself, looking for supply crates and there are hidden supply crates. So I found myself going out of my way to try to find those to get the more offensive options, the additional ammo, the additional flashbangs. At one point, I had like 23 flares. I was like, let's go. We're good. So I really think that the first two chapters struggle because it is introducing you to some of the game mechanics. But later on, like you're going to be introduced to new mechanics the entire way. You're constantly finding new offensive options because the gameplay isn't it's kind of survival horror meets an action game. And I know they said that Alan Wake 2 is going to be primarily a survival horror game. I'm excited to see what they do with that because that's not typically my style of genre. But Alan Wake, the actual gameplay, we'll talk a little more on it before we go into the story. I find that It is basically a third person shooter for the most part, but it has a special mechanic. So the Taken, who are possessed by the darkness, which is the antagonist of the game, you need to use your flashlight to blind them and weaken them. They have a little circle that collapses the more you shine a light on them. And once that circle's gone, they get vulnerable to regular bullets. And then you can kill them with your revolver, your shotgun, whatever you have on you. That is fine. It adds a little, it's an interesting take on a third person shooter. It gives you, grenades and flares, like I said, some a little more offensive options. There are puzzles in this game. Do I think they're very well done? They're kind of simple. Most of the time, it spells it out for you what you have to do. It can be as simple as going up to a generator and doing a little, I wouldn't say a quick time event, but basically, you know what you do in Dead by Daylight, where you have to do the generators, hit X at the right time in the certain area. That is basically what you do to restart the generators. You solve some puzzles by moving some logs and some, knocking stuff over. You can push some carts by tapping X repeatedly. This isn't groundbreaking stuff. There's nothing here that's like, oh my God, what a good puzzle. It's more just like, hey, we're going to give you a little something to do to slow down your progress. And then you're probably going to have a little wave of enemies attack you while you're trying to do this stuff. It's fine. I wouldn't say the puzzles are where this game shines. This game is obviously a narrative game. And I mentioned it before, but the story in this game I absolutely adored. And I didn't think I would say that the first two chapters because I was finding myself, not liking Alan, getting annoyed at all the exposition and the narrative and the amount of cutscenes. As this game goes on, it's a phenomenal story. It is probably my favorite Remedy story that I have played, which honestly isn't that many. I've played Control, which I think is great. I love Control Ultimate Edition, as anyone that listened to my review knows. But Alan Wake, I think, is a better story. I think it is easier to follow. It makes more sense. Narratively, I think it is just overall a better story. Basically, you and your wife are going on vacation. Alan needs a break. He's taken a little trip. He just released his new novel and he's had some issues with the paparazzi lately. So they go to this little town of Bright Falls. Him and his wife got a cabin on the lake. And then his wife goes missing and she's afraid of the dark. And then all of a sudden, Alan wakes up and he has a head injury. It's been a week later. He can't remember what happened in the week preceding. So he's like trying to put back together the pieces of his life. Where's his wife? Along the way, you meet a whole host of characters. There is Barry, his agent. There's the sheriff of the town. There's Dr. Hartman, a psychiatrist at some sort of artistic psychiatric facility. I think all these characters are great. None of them felt annoying. I think Barry is pretty funny. I could understand if some people found him annoying. I think that they explain who these characters are and they kind of give them a backstory. It'd be great to see some of them, if they can, come back in Alan Wake 2, if that does take place in Bright Falls, which I suspect it will based on how this game ends. I found myself really liking the town of Bright Falls, the world. The characters in it are so lively and fun. There's a couple of old rock stars. They've now dementia, but there is one set piece in this game that's absolutely brilliant that revolves around their old stage. I absolutely loved it. It's a lot of fun. Basically, you're getting attacked by a bunch of Taken, and then their music kicks on and fireworks and the whole shebang. It's fantastic. That is one of the highlights of this game for sure. The story is something you really have to experience for yourself, if I'm being honest, because you try to explain it and you can't really do that without giving away the entire plot. And I know I'll have some cutscenes with gameplay interspersed throughout this video, but I didn't record anything that is spoilerly or overly spoilers, or what I did record, maybe trying to throw some of you in a certain direction, thinking understand what's going on. You really don't understand what's going on based on what I'm showing you, because this game has a lot of twists and turns. You think one thing and then you think another thing, because characters are telling you different things. Alan isn't sure himself what's going on until almost the very end of the game, when you figure out, you're like, okay, I put together the pieces of the puzzle. You end the game. The whole time you're trying to get your wife back. I won't tell you if you succeed or not, but that is your ultimate mission. The darkness has taken your wife, and you are trying to go through Bright Falls to various locations, sawmill, power plant, lighthouse, and try to get her back. After the game ends, you play the DLC. And the DLC introduces even more new mechanics, shining flashlight on words to create them into real life. Like if the word says tools, you can shine your light, it'll give you ammo. If it says boom, you can create explosion by holding your light over it. This is a whole new gameplay mechanic that is introduced in the DLC. And it kind of makes sense based on where the last game ends, some stuff we see at the end of that game. But the DLC for me basically sets up Alan Wake 2. That is really its own only purpose. I don't think that the DLC, the special episodes as they're called, are something you really need to play. They're fine. They're shorter than the original episodes. You can knock them out probably in an hour and a half ish, both of them together. I wouldn't say they're required. So if you beat the main game, you're like, I don't really feel like playing anymore. That's fine. I would say if you got another hour or two, just knock them out. It will add a little more narrative explanation, and I think it'll benefit you, especially in Alan Wake 2, if they reference anything that happens in the DLC. Along your journey, Alan Wake isn't just like a third person shooter. You have a car. You have multiple cars actually that you can drive, and you can shine headlights to weaken the taken, run them over. You get attacked by birds, which you have to shine lights on, which I'm going to say right now, worst enemies in any video game. They are so frustrating to fight. They're annoying. They're not fun. I did not enjoy this at all. I really hope they don't make a return, or if they do, they are tweaked massively because the birds are just dumb. They're not a good gameplay mechanic. Along your way through Bright Falls and the various locations, you're gonna want to look out for collectibles. And there are different collectibles in the DLC. There are alarm clocks and video games and cardboard cutouts to look for. But in the main game, the two main collectibles you're gonna want to look out for are manuscript pages and coffee thermoses, which I didn't collect them all, but they're pretty easy. Some of them are off the beaten path, usually with hidden resource caches. So if you're like, oh, the game wants me to go that way, it might benefit you to go look the other way. You could find something useful. The other things you want to look out for if you are a collector. Now, I didn't platinum this game. I'm missing like 18 trophies throughout the game and the DLCs, which isn't that many. There's like 62 trophies total. So I got a fair bit of them. The other things you want to look out for are TVs and radios, because these kind of act like the files and TVs you find in Control, which if you've played Control, you turn those on and you usually see a little skit, usually see something that gives you more information about the world that you're playing in. And these are kind of how we found out that Alan Wake and Control are related, because in Control you find those and you're like, oh my God, it's referencing things from Alan Wake. That is present in this one too. And I would say that actually Alan Wake seems to set up things for Quantum Break, which is also a Remedy game, and Control, because those titles are kind of hinted at in a lot of these hidden things that you find, especially the TV for Night Springs, the TV show that they find. I think that's a cool world building mechanic. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, go for it. Keep an eye out for those. For me, I watched some of them. I didn't care for other ones. I don't know. It's something I can't really watch a TV, especially because they're usually like minutes long in the video game. There are also these cute little QR codes spread throughout the game where they actually work. If you pull up your phone and scan the QR code, it'll bring you to a YouTube video that Remedy made on their channel that'll give you more information about Alan Wake. That's a cool little Easter egg for anyone that wants to keep an eye out for that. Certainly do. There's just so much right about this game. Did I love it at the start? No, I did not. I think that it's hard to get into, especially being an older game. It's not going to feel that great. It's not going to appeal to everyone. But if you stick with it, it does get better. The story improves. Alan improves a lot. I like him at the end. He has a lot of growth. He has a lot of character. His character arc in general is great. He goes from being an unlikable douche to kind of a self-aware human being that understands, he has faults, he has issues, and he's trying to do the right thing. And I like that. I think he's a good character now. I'm excited to see where he goes in Alan Wake 2. I could rave about this game. I think it certainly deserves its cult classic status. I think for the price of $30, which is what the remaster is going for, it's well worth it. I got it on sale for 23, and that is certainly well worth it. It's going to take you about 12 hours to probably beat the game. So that's a good price to time investment there. Honestly, I'm going to give this game a play. You're going to want to buy this game. You're going to want to check it out if you haven't. I do know Alan Wake's American Nightmare is on Game Pass. I thought this one was too, but I went and looked and it wasn't. I know the remaster wasn't, but I thought the original was because I was just going to play that one, but it wasn't there. So I picked up the remaster. I had a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend this game. So, yeah, if you want to prepare for Alan Wake 2, check this out. It's a low price and it's a pretty short time commitment, but it gets a recommend for me. Let me know what you guys think about Alan Wake Remastered or the original if you played that one down in the comments below. Let me know your excitement for Alan Wake 2. Until next time, I've been Kevin, aka the Muffin Man for Project X Talk, and we will see you.